We shall be discussing about labor supply, labor force, workforce, unemployment, participation rate. There are so many terms lined up here. We shall be discussing them one by one. To begin with, we have labor supply. In simple terms, labor supply is the total hours that the workers wish to work at given real wage rate. Now there is wage rate prevalent in the market, you know. Upon that wage rate, how many hours are you willing to work? Is the worker willing to work? So what we are going to consider here is the given wage rate which is prevalent in the market and how many hours will that worker work for. Corresponding to a particular wage rate, the amount of labor that the workers are willing to offer. Now, with the change in the wage rate, the amount of labor will also change. This is very simple. Supposingly, daily wage rate is 300 rupees. Okay, it may go to 500. When it goes to 500, how many days will that worker work? Maybe he is happy in this particular amount of money. So, I am stressing that corresponding to a particular wage rate, how much labor, amount of labor that the worker will put in is our labor supply. Let us take an example. At a particular wage rate, there is this worker called X. He is able to work 10 hours a day. He is able to work. The word is able. But he is willing to work only for 6 hours a day. He can work for 10 hours a day, but for the particular wage rate, he is willing to work only for 6 hours a day. So this is labor supply. Here how much, what is the labor supply? 6 hours. Labor supply is always estimated in relation to wage rate. It is measured in terms of man hours of work or man days of work. So when I will be talking about what is the labor supply, either it will be in the terms of hours or it will be in the terms of days. What is basically taken is 8 man hours is considered 1 man day. Supposingly, you are getting 2000 rupees to work for 8 hours. If I work for 8 hours, I will get 2000 rupees. This is the rate. I may be ready to work for 16 hours. This is the double the amount of hours, and so I will be getting 4000. As the same person will work for more hours, the labor supply will increase. The worker shall agree to work for more money because he will be getting double the amount of money. From 2000 to 4000 he is getting double. So that is why instead of 8 hours he will be working for 16 hours. Labor supply is the total hours that the workers can work for total hours. What is the number of hours that the worker will work? This is the potential of the total workers combined calculated in hours. Supposingly there are 100 workers. 40 workers, they are working for 6 hours and there are some separate 60 workers who are working for 10 hours. So what is going to be the labor supply? In this 40 multiplied by 6 plus 60 multiplied by 10. So this is 240 plus 600. This is giving you 840 work hours. This will be your labor supply. To sum up, labor supply will be calculated either in hours or in days. First point. Second point, it will always be calculated in relation to wage rate. When we will be talking about labor supply, we will be mentioning the wage rate as well. Because ultimately, what is labor supply? Labor supply is the hours that the worker will work at this wage rate, or the man days the worker will work at given this wage rate. It is a very simple concept, right? Supposingly you go to the market, right? You go to the market to buy tomatoes. Tomatoes are available at 100 rupees per kg. What will you do? You will just buy 1 kg of tomatoes and you will come back home. Now if the rate of tomatoes goes to 200 per kg, you will not be buying 1 kg. Maybe you will be buying less. है ना? So the rate of the tomatoes is going to decide your demand. In the same way, it happens in the labor supply also. What is the prevailing wage rate? According to that, the labor will be willing to work. So very simple. What is labor supply? Labor supply is the hours the worker will work at this given wage rate. If your wage rate will increase or your wage rate will decrease, your labor supply will also get affected. I hope now this point is very clear that labor supply is the total hours that the workers wish to work at a given real wage rate. Move on, next slide. Labor force. This is a totally different term. The first point is it is not related to wage rate. In the previous slide, everything has to be calculated from the wage rate. Here, labor force not related to wage rate. Now, what is labor force? It is the number of workers actually working or willing to work. So, it is the sum total of the people who are actually working or they are ready, they are willing to work. Labor force is the persons working plus persons seeking and or available for work. So what is the meaning of the term persons working? You know, the number of persons working, that is called first component of labor force. Secondly, persons seeking work. Seeking work means at present they are not working, but they are ready to work. If they find a job, they will definitely work. At present, they don't have work. This is the second component of the labor force. Please listen very carefully. Labor force is the persons working who have employment. They are working. They will be calculated. Okay, done. Second point is they are not, this set of segment is not working. They are seeking for work. The only problem is that they are not able to find the work. They have no work, but they are ready to work. If you give them work, they will definitely work. So the labor force is the sum total of two components. The first component is the persons who have work and they are working. Second component is these set of segment of people, they are not working, but they are seeking work. They are ready to work. They are available for work. Once they get the work, they will work. At present, they are not working. They also will be calculated in labor force. Okay. Now come to this point. Labor force is all persons who are working, including having a job, and includes self-employed. Now see, this component I told you, the first component, this is the persons working. है ना? What is this? Persons working means either they are working as employee or they are self-employed. Both the categories will come in this segment, person working. You may be working under someone or you may be self-employed. You are running a sole proprietorship. It could be the either way. If you are working in a shop, you are a part of labor force. If you have a shop and people are working under you, again you are a part of the labor force. I hope I've made the things very clear. Persons working you will get two items. First is people who have a job, including having a job. That means they are employees, and people who are self-employed. It means they are the owner of that particular organization or a shop or a grocery shop or a vegetable shop, anything. If you are working in a grocery shop, you are a part of the labor force. If you are having a grocery shop, you are a labor force. So labor force means first component, persons working. Now come to the second component. What does this mean? This is people not working but are seeking a job. Seeking a job, they are looking for a job. They are available for work. They are ready to work. This is this segment. This segment is not working right now, but they are ready to work. If you give them job, they will definitely grab the job and they will start working. So labor force means people who are working. Uska sub item ho gaya having a job and self-employed. It can be your own job or you are working for somebody else. That is persons who are working. And the second component is people who are seeking work. Seeking work means at present they are not working. They are not working, but they are willing to work. They are seeking a job. They are available for work. You give them work, they will work. So this is labor force. Another word written out here is unemployed. What is this? Unemployed, I have broken up into two segments. The first segment is unemployed are those people who want to work. They are included in the workforce. Now, what is workforce? I will tell you in the next slide. They want to work, but they don't have work. And the second is they do not want to work. So there are two different terms. Be very careful. One segment is want to work. They are unemployed, but they want to work. They don't have any employment right now. But if you give them employment, they will definitely grab it and they are ready to work. This is called want to work. Second segment is they do not want to work. So they are not seeking a job. Even if you give them the job, they will not work because they don't want to work. So this unemployed word, it is composed of people who want to work but they do not have work, and the people who do not want to work. उनको तो करना ही नहीं है काम. Clear? Right? And this is the segment of unemployed. Now, another term which I have used here is workforce. This I will tell you in detail in the slides to follow. So is it clear what is labor force? Labor force is the combination of two types of people who are working and who are not working, but they are seeking the job. They are available for job. This is labor force. Next slide. Total number of people who are eligible for work, including employed people and including unemployed people. As I told you, what is labor force is people who are eligible for work. Eligible means they are, right? They are there for work. They are eligible for work. They can be employed. They can be unemployed people. This includes people who have work and who are searching for work. And this searching of work means they don't have job right now. They are unemployed, but we will be taking them in the labor force. So labor force means that you are working, they have work or they are searching for work. This total means the labor force. Let us take a very simple example. The photo you are seeing on your screen is that of a college. This year, 500 students passed out of this college with a graduation degree. Very good. All are eager to work and earn money. Everybody wants to earn a living, so they are ready to work. But out of this 300 people, out of this 500 people who passed out, only 300 were able to find the job. And 200, they were not able to find the job, but they are searching for a job. You know, the process of search of a job is on and they are looking for a job. If they get the job, they will definitely be employed and they will start working. Now, what is the labor force? Labor force will include these 300 people who have found a job and will also include these 200 people who have not found a job, but the criteria is that they are searching for a job. They are ready to work, but they don't have a job right now. So labor force will be 300 plus 200, which is 500. You cannot say that labor force is 300. No, I will include these 200 people also in the labor force because they are searching for a job. They are available for a job. They don't have job. Doesn't matter. These 200 people are equally educated and equally talented as these 300 people. These 200 people, they are ready to work at the prevailing wage rate. They are qualified for the work. They are equally significant, right? So labor force will be 300 who have found the job and 200 who are searching for the job. Labor force is 500. I think it is very clear. Now, 300 is the workforce out of this category. So I was telling you, I'll tell you what is the workforce. These people who have found a job, they are working, they will be calculated as workforce. And this 200 people, they will be counted as unemployed. Clear? Labor force will be 500, 300 is the workforce. They have already found a job, 200 are unemployed because they don't have a job. But this 200 are totaled up in labor force. Labor force will be 500. Clear? Next slide. See, a person who is working is called labor force. I think this point is very clear to you. And a person seeking a job but at present he is unemployed, he is also labor force. I have told it plenty number of times. So labor force is the sum total of people who are working and the sum total of those people who are seeking a job. They are willing for job, they are available for job, but at present they don't have a job. Clear? Now, example, this is Mr. P. He is a shopkeeper. He is self-employed. Maybe he has a vegetable shop or a grocery shop or any shop. So this is Mr. P. Mr. Q, he works in a company as a senior manager, white collar job, Mr. Q. Mr. R, he is working in a company but he is a sweeper there. Okay. Mr. S, he is unemployed but willing to work. Oh my God, if you give him work, he will take the work, he's available for work, he's ready for work, but at present he does not have work, so I'm calling him unemployed. But his intentions are ready to work. And there is another Mr. T who is unemployed, but he's not willing to work. So there is a difference between Mr. S and Mr. T. Mr. S intentions is readiness to work. Mr. T intention, na, I don't want to work. So Mr. P who is a shopkeeper, Mr. Q who is a senior manager, Mr. R who is a sweeper, and Mr. S who is unemployed but ready to work, they all are a part of labor force. Now there is an exception, Mr. T who is unemployed, he does not have work, but there is no eagerness to work, he is not ready to work at all, so he is not calculated in our labor force. So you please write all these categories and try to understand. It will be very easy to you to calculate who all are calculated in the labor force. Next, labor force will include the people from 15 to 60 years of age. Less than 15 and more than 60, they are not calculated in the labor force, because less than 15 is calculated as children who are not eligible to work, and above 60 is the retirement age. We don't calculate them as a labor force. Next, how will you calculate the labor force? What you do is take the total population of a country minus people who are unfit for work. They will include old aged people and the handicapped or disabled people. Isko minus, subtracted from the total population of the country. Also subtract the people who are not willing to work. There is no readiness to work. They are unemployed, but even if you give them employment, they will not work because their mindset says no work. Subtract these people also, and subtract the people who are not available for work. You give them work, but they were not available. So this is the formula to calculate the labor force of a country. Take the total population of a country and subtract these three items from them, and you will get labor force. Next, very important question, and for the clarity purpose also you should know what is the difference between the labor supply. Labor supply was told to you in the first slide, and the difference between labor force. Labor supply is the supply of labor corresponding to different wage rate. I repeat, labor supply is always calculated in terms of the prevailing wage rate. This is labor supply is the supply of labor measured in terms of man days or man hours, and it is related to wage rate. First slide, it was made very clear to you. Labor force, sum total of the people who are actually working, maybe self-employed, maybe employee, or they are willing to work. They don't have work, but they are willing to work. Sum total of these people, and this is not related to wage rate. This is related to wage rate, and this is not related to wage rate. Second point says the supply of labor can increase or decrease even when the number of workers remain constant. Number of workers will remain the same, but the supply of labor can increase and the supply of labor can decrease. Supply of labor is calculated in terms of man days or person days. 1 person day is equal to 8 hours of work. Now please tell me, how is this possible that the number of workers remain constant and your supply of labor can increase or decrease? I told you in the first slide, if you increase the wage rate, or even if you don't increase, maybe the worker is ready to work for the double shift. He is offering his job, his services for the double shift. So the prevailing wage rate the labor supply will increase. You will tell him the wage rate for 8 hours and he may offer his services for 16 hours. So what will happen? The supply of labor will increase. The labor head will remain the same number of people, but the supply of labor will increase. And in labor force, the size of labor force increases or decreases only when the number of persons actually working or willing to work increases or decreases. So here we will be taking the head count. Okay, size of labor force means people actually working. Here you will not be taking the man hours, you will not be taking the man days. Clear? Next, another terminology is workforce. So I will suggest that please learn one by one. They are, if you don't thoroughly understand it, they may get confused. Labor supply, labor force, workforce, what is this? So you be very patient and learn it step by step. Okay. What is workforce now? Number of persons actually working, right? People who are willing to work but are not working, they are not included. Where did we include this set of people? We included them in the labor force. In the workforce, we will not include them. We will just be taking the people who are actually working. Workforce is the number of persons who are actually employed at a particular time. Workforce means all those persons who are actually engaged in production activities, they are actually involved. It can be that they are working somewhere or they have employed people. Self-employed also will be counted, and the employees, they also will be counted. So people who are actually working, actually engaged in the production activities, they are called workforce. To continue with the same example, if 500 people graduated from a college, all are equally qualified and talented, 300 got the job, 200, they are still searching for a job, but they are ready to work. If they get the job, they will work. Now, what is workforce? Workforce is told you the number of people who are actually working. So workforce will be 300. This 200 will not be included in workforce. Number of persons actually employed at a particular time. Workforce is a part of labor force. Yes, because in this very example, if I calculate the labor force, I will also take 200. I will take it 300 plus 200. Labor force will be 500. But if I will calculate the workforce, I will take only 300 people. So what I say is workforce is a part of labor force. If you want to calculate the formula, workforce is equal to labor force minus the number of persons not working but are willing to work. So in this category, you can write workforce is equal to 500. Labor force is here 500, right? So this will be 500 minus what? Minus this 200 people who are not getting a job but they are ready to work. So what is your workforce? Workforce is 300. I think this example has made the things very clear to you. Please learn it and be thorough in this. Next slide. So the labor force is equal to the workforce plus the unemployed category. Let us say that have work people who are employed is 70 and are unemployed but willing to work are 30. Let us take this example. So labor force will be 100 is equal to 70 plus 30, just as I told you in the previous slide. Please learn this formula. Labor force is workforce plus unemployed. From this formula only you can derive these formulas. If you want to calculate unemployed, what will you do? You will say labor force minus workforce. Take this towards the left hand side, it will take a negative sign. And from this formula only you can derive this formula, which is workforce is equal to labor force minus unemployed. I hope it's very clear to you now. Next slide. Now the term comes unemployment. It is the difference between the labor force and the workforce. Just in the previous slide the formula was there. So number of persons unemployed is equal to labor force minus workforce. Number of persons unemployed means you can calculate is, see, labor force. What is this? Labor force is employed plus willing to work, right? And what is workforce? Workforce is employed. If I tell you this positive will get minus with this negative, and what you are left is willing to work and willing to work equal. है ना? So what formula you have to memorize is number of persons unemployed. If you have to calculate the number of persons who are unemployed, what will you do? It is the labor force minus workforce. Okay, next. Now comes the rate of unemployment. Another important formula. What will you do is, in the numerator write down the number of persons unemployed divided by size of labor force into 100. So the denominator is to be size of labor force. Please learn it. Another term, participation rate. This is the proportion of population that is actively engaged in the process of production. So it is a comparative term. You are going to calculate it with the proportion, the number of people who are engaged in the process of production activities. Proportion of population that is engaged in the process of value addition in the country. One and the same thing. The people who are working, who are in the process of production activity, they are adding to the country. Value addition ho raha hai. We will take those number of people divided by the total population. What is the importance of participation rate? It is very important to analyze the employment situation in a country. How many people are employed? This is basically the participation rate. Next. Another term is labor force participation rate. This is the section of working population in the age group 16 to 64 in the country which is currently employed or seeking employment. So category of people will be 16 to 64. I told you children are not taken and old age people are not taken out of this segment. Who are working and seeking employment, this is called labor force participation rate. People who are still studying, the housewives and the persons above the age of 64, we will not take them in the labor force. Labor force is people who are qualified for work. They have job or they are jobless. We will be taking both of them. Ready to work and working, both of them. So LFPR means labor force participation rate is equal to labor force divided by total working age population into 100. Working age population will be calculated 16 to 64. If in a country labor force participation rate is 50%, this means that out of 100 people of working age population, 50 is the labor force. I would like to mention that in the denominator, I am not taking total population. I am taking total working age population. Please make it very clear. So if the labor force participation rate is 50%, 50 is the labor force. Out of this, 35 are working, means they have employment, and 15 are unemployed. They are seeking employment. So 35 is the workforce and 15 are unemployed. So labor force participation rate in the year 2017-18 is 49.8%, and in the year 11-12 it was 55.9%. So you can just compare the rate. Next, worker population ratio. Another formula, worker who is engaged in the economic activity and contributes to the GDP. He is considered as a worker. He has a job. The section of population who is working is called a worker. He can be engaged in any production process. He can be the owner. He can be an employee. No worries. We will take him as a worker. So the first term here is worker. I've made it clear. Second term here is population. Population is the total number of people who are residing in a country at a particular time. I'm not talking about working age population. It was in the previous slide. Here it is the total population. So worker population ratio. Ratio is fraction. So this is equal to the number of workers divided by total population into 100. If out of 1000 people, only 60 are working, so your WPR will be 60%. Very simple. Next, labor force participation rate is the labor force divided by the population into 100. Okay. And WPR, worker population ratio, is the worker divided by population into 100. So the worker population ratio is more in the rural area. Why so? It's less in the urban area as compared, because rural women work more than the urban women. People in the rural areas, they work more, especially women. There is a financial crisis in the rural areas. You all know. Even the kids also have to work there. So that is why the worker population ratio is higher in the rural areas. So here we come to the end of the article. I hope I have made the things very clear to you. If you have any doubts, please ask me in the comment section. If you want to give any suggestion, please write it in the comment section. Like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay blessed.